Thank you for joining me. This is The Point, and I am Miriam Ogutu. My guest today is a renowned life coach and a founder of alternative health education at the Wellness Institute of Body and Mind, Mr. Wolfgang Christoph. Is it Christoph, or did I say your name right?
You did wonderful. It's Christoph. Very simple.
Thank you for joining me on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So, briefly, who is Wolfgang?
Well, that's a big question. I grew up in East Berlin, actually. And in 1961, when they built the Berlin Wall, I was separated from my family, and I was all of a sudden in a different country. And 3 weeks later, when I escaped while the soldiers were shooting at me, I was finally reunited with my family. But I lived in West Berlin for most of my life, and then I went to medical school and, did many other things. And then in 1990, I decided to create something that I'm really passionate about, which is health and well-being for body and mind.
Okay.
So I'm a life coach, a mentor, a keynote and motivational speaker, and I do lots of different things for parents, children, adults, business individuals, entrepreneurs.
Okay, so let's just go back to when they built the Berlin Wall. Yeah. So you'd gone for a sleepover at a friend's place.
Yes, I had a sleepover at my best friend just down the street.
And then you woke up one morning
on Sunday morning, I woke up, it was so noisy, all the construction equipment on the street, and we looked down from the 5-story apartment building, and there was all these soldiers, and we didn't know what was going on. We thought, on Sunday morning, they're fixing the street, this is crazy. But then we saw that the barbed wire was unrolled and the barricades were built, and so I was stuck. I couldn't leave. Nobody was allowed in and out, and I was really scared. Okay,
and at that time you were 10.
Yeah.
So what are some of the lessons that you learned from your childhood that have had an impact in you throughout your life?
That's a good question, because when you're growing up in a communist country, you have absolutely no freedom. You have no freedom of speech, no freedom of faith or religion. You cannot speak ill about anyone. You're constantly...
Are we talking about North Korea here?
Oh, well, it was very similar, yes.
It's very similar, right?
It's the same system, you know.
Yeah.
It may have not been so rigid as in North Korea, but it was quite difficult. So you have really no freedoms, and if you don't conform to the Communist Party, you have a difficult life. It was very poor, and so I grew up in a small rural village of about 200 near the Polish border. So life was really hard, and so the lessons that I'm learning is really from an early age that you have to take life in your own hands. You cannot wait for somebody to do anything for you.
Okay.
So whether you're hungry or not, you need to find food. Whether you want to build something or create something, it is up to you to make something happen.
Okay.
And so even though you have great challenges, you have to find a way to overcome them.
All right. So you were at your friends and the wall was built. So which side of the Berlin Wall were you, the east or west?
I was on the east side.
But your family was on the west side.
Yes.
So
there was no communication. The phone was all cut. All the communication was interrupted. So they didn't know where I was. I didn't know what happened to them. I know they were safe, but they didn't know whether I was safe.
So which side was worse, the west or the east?
The east.
Where you were?
Yeah.
So you escaped after 3 weeks?
Yeah, I was staying, of course, with my best friend. And his father, he was a brilliant man, and he kind of orchestrated the whole thing, the whole escape. And so after 3 weeks of planning and preparation and training, I made it through the fence at night, jumped into the river, and I swam about 100 yards while the soldiers were shooting at me. And the bullets were really that close that I could feel the vibration next to my body.
Oh, wow.
It was really scary.
Okay. So, of course, that wall was built when you were 10 years old, and then it was there until...
1989.
Until about 27 years, right?
Yeah.
When you were looking at that wall, what did that wall symbolize to you?
That was part of the saddest thing, because there are so many families are being separated for so many years. Families, brothers and sisters, parents and children, all relatives, friends. And that piece of concrete, out of nowhere separates your feelings, your emotions, your connections, anything. So anything can happen in life, you see. And this is why I talk about this as a motivational subject. I don't talk about it because I want to be a hero. I talk about it because life can change in an instant. And there may not be a wall between here and there, but we can have a tsunami, an earthquake, a 9/11. You can fall down the stairs or slip on a banana peel, you know, and your life is never the same again. So the point to that is that we have so much more in life to be grateful for than what we think we need to complain about all the time.
Okay. So would you say you found your calling?
When?
Would you say you have found your calling and your purpose
Did I?
in life?
Yes, I did. I did a long time ago.
So what is that? What is that?
I have a unique gift, and I realized that it doesn't belong to me. I received it through my life experiences, through the mentors and teachers that I have encountered in my life. And if I keep it to myself, just to pride myself how much I know, that would be selfish. So I decided to share it with everybody, because I feel it liberates me. It makes me humble, and it makes me feel that I make really a contribution to somebody else's life.
Okay. All right. So you are the founder of Alternative Health Education.
Yeah.
Could you tell our viewers what that is?
Yes. In around 1995 or so, I developed a program. And I had two locations. One was about 4,000 square feet. The other one was 8,000 square feet.
Oh, wow.
It was a wellness center where we had body and mind healthcare. We had a family doctor, chiropractor, acupuncture, yoga, nutrition and exercise, and massage, and even Reiki, laughing therapy, everything from A to Z. We had everything under one roof. So as a person who needs to go to a doctor or wellness, we had everything that we could possibly offer to bring complete wellness to the person. Because sometimes a physical symptom is not necessarily an illness. It could be psychologically or emotionally.
Yeah.
And so instead of giving medication or some other alternative, you know, we have herbs or meditation or counseling and things like that to help somebody to be complete rather than just a Band-Aid.
Okay. So far, do you think it's working? Would you say it's working?
Oh, it's working very well.
How has it been received?
Well, I had this wellness institute for over 10 years, so it's been...
it must be doing well over 10 years.
It's doing very well, yeah.
Okay. So I'm still curious about the wall. But
Yes.
I want to talk about it in regards to... You live in California now.
Yes, I do.
But you're originally from Germany. So when the president now is talking about building this wall in Mexico, and maybe he'll do it, maybe he won't, but that is something that he campaigned about, and it was one of his key campaign points.
Yeah.
And he wants to build this this wall, and partly he has the reasons are legitimate, and partly, I mean, maybe not well in regards to locking other people, you know, from accessing the U.S. illegally. When you hear that in this time and age, in this century we live in, and with your experience with the Berlin Wall, is this a conversation that should even be entertained?
To have a wall? Well, I think we should have a conversation about why is a wall really necessary. I think this is my own personal opinion. There are reasons why people do what they do, you know, whether it's personal reason, political reasons, you know, financial reason, whatever that is, spiritual, religious reason. Everybody has a reason for doing what they're doing. So without assuming what their reasons are, I have my own opinion about these things. So I believe that as long as we separate ourselves from others, and I say I am I and you are you, and they are me and others, we will never have a harmonious relationship in the world. We need to become inclusive. We need to allow ourselves to be friends, not enemies. And by separating myself from someone, whether it is to a wall or a fence or some other ideology, then we're always creating a conflict,
and not
fear.
solution.
And so I'm totally against that. So unfortunately, people who are talking about walls they come from a different point of view, and mostly a point of view of fear. because they're afraid that someone is going to come to take something away. But that is really a very shallow way of thinking. And I think if we educate people a little bit more from people who had some experience about, you know, going through a war experience. And I think the world really doesn't learn from history. We repeat the same mistakes over and over again.
Unfortunately.
And so we are still in the baby steps of our evolutionary process. We may be very smart, but we still haven't learned anything.
Yeah, I guess humanity has its own ways of...
Yeah, so my job then is, you know, I think part of my journey is to help people to become mindful and perhaps even more enlightened about their own infinite potential. You see, everything begins with you. I cannot tell people how they're supposed to behave. I have to be the light that they want to see.
Okay.
And I have to be, like Gandhi said, you must be the change that you want to see in the world. So every person, imagine, we talk about global warming and pollution, you know, it's a big topic these days. And some people say it exists and some people say it don't exist, but whatever it is, there's trash everywhere, right? So I was very privileged to be at the Dalai Lama's 80th birthday in Los Angeles.
Oh, you are?
And we had a forum on global warming and you know, pollution and so forth. And all the scientists had a great comments and they made their point about everything, how we can change that. And then in the end, they asked the Dalai Lama and they said, you know, of course, he always smiles and a happy guy. And he said, imagine if every person would not trash one thing, something, for a week. We have a totally clean world.
Just for a week.
Just for 1 week. Can you imagine if we don't trash anything, if we don't put the, you know, trash down the drain, put the cigarette butt on the street, or throw away the paper, or trash, just trash. If we are mindful and just be, you know, considerate and make an effort to be considerate, the effort, and we change our perception that the world is actually a good world rather than a bad world, then it changes.
And we have a responsibility to take care of it.
And that lies always with the individual.
Yeah. This is The Point, and in case you're joining me, my guest today is Wolfgang Christoph. He's coming all the way from California, but of course he's from Germany, but now resides in California. And he's here for a workshop and for a speaking engagement and for Kenyans out there who want to do better in their lives and to achieve their greatest potential. So, Mr. Wolfgang, is this your first time that you're in Kenya?
Yes, and it's a wonderful experience so far.
Have you eaten ugali yet?
Yes, I did. Did I eat this? Yeah, I ate.
You ate ugali?
Yes, and I love it.
Did they serve you and they didn't tell you it's ugali?
I ate it many times already, so it's good.
You love it?
I like experiencing different things. I don't say no to anything.
Oh.
I have to know everything at least once. So I have an opinion. I don't like to tell me people this is good or this is bad. I experience it first.
And then you decide. All right, so why exactly are you in Kenya?
Kenya has an incredible potential. You know, I think the whole world is looking at Kenya. The whole continent is actually watching Kenya and how Kenya is developing. I mean, you have an election coming up, a lot of changes are happening. But besides all of that, Kenya has a wonderful opportunity to shine throughout the whole continent. And so whether it's economically or socially, and I want to be a part of that. I think this is a right time for me to be here to help on a social and spiritual level and on a personal level to help people to come out of their shell and discover their infinite potential for successful living. So far your experience, how would you rate it? How have you been received? My reception was, I would say 110%.
Oh, wow.
I have had such a warm welcome. It's overwhelming. I've never seen this anywhere in the world. So this is my first time where it was so immediate. I was embraced with such warm love and gratitude. Okay, nice to do that. So now, in your experience with the work you've been doing in helping people achieve their greatest potential, what is the number one thing that you think
inhibits individuals from really going after their goals and achieving, living their dreams and finding their purpose and in life?
That's a good question. This phenomenon is not only unique for Kenyans, but for many other people as well. We tell young children to get educated, because when you have a good education, you get a good job, and when you have a good job, you're successful in life. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. You get a good education, parents spend a lot of money, and then there's no job available, and then you have this depression, and this, everything kind of falls apart, and you have to take a job that is so low on the totem pole, in comparison to the education that you have, and it's very depressing.
Okay.
So that is one area. The other thing is that sometimes we don't have enough inspiration. We don't know how to be, to reinvent ourselves. We only look at what we have available and said, well, that's all I got. There's nothing else I can do. Yeah. So the ingenuity, the inspiration, the part of yourself that says, I can do this. I take this and make it into something better. I think that's missing.
Okay. Is it because human nature, we love being places we are familiar, we love, being comfortable? Could that be one of the reasons why it's very difficult?
Yeah.
And sometimes we go through motion in life, but we're not really making progress.
Yeah.
So we are stuck. So how do you help such an individual who thinks they're doing something with their lives, but they could be in rounds, but they're not really making progress?
Yes.
How do you help such a person really find their path towards success?
Oh, good question. You can't just tell people, here's a book or here's my program, and do what I tell you, and then you will be fine. If that would be the case, then everybody would be brilliantly successful in the world.
Look,
we're all guilty of that, right? So there has to be a process. So, and I learned that we have to first identify, why am I not who I want to be? What is holding me back? What is that conversation in my head that prevents me, the saboteur, that always tells me I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, what are you thinking? Are you an Einstein? Or, we need to discover all the self-imposed limitations before we can even go on to the next level. So my job is to help you to discover what is the problem that prevents you from being the best that you can be.
Okay.
And learn what they do to you, how they affect you, and how they manipulate your life and restrict you in all cases. Then we can create strategies on how to turn those obstacles into stepping stones.
Okay. So what I'm getting from what you just said is, we are sometimes our own greatest enemy when it comes to success and development in our own lives.
Absolutely.
We don't take enough risk.
No, and because we are afraid.
We are afraid.
You see, stress.
The fear of the unknown?
Yes.
Okay.
Even the known.
Even the known.
Yes. We know this is dangerous. We know this is not good. We know this and that. We know everything. What we are living in this world, and we are bombarded with information and images that is known to us that we don't want to be associated with. So we are afraid of that as well.
Okay.
But more importantly, for the unknown. But the most important part is about our own perception, our own self-talk that says, I am not good enough. We have fears. All the stress in the world is basically not more than another form of fear. And fear is an acronym, FEAR, and it stands for false evidence appearing real.
False evidence appearing real.
Think about that.
Thank you for that lesson. I think I'll marinate on that. And now I read somewhere that you had your own TV talk show.
Oh yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, I began being interviewed like today, and then one day I decided, well, I can do that. And so I decided to study about being a television talk show host, radio talk show host. And I started. I had my own TV show, and I started as an interview, like you and I.
Okay.
But I was a horrible interviewer. And then
Really?
Yes, I mean, the idea was...
is the content on YouTube? Because now I'm curious.
The idea was to interview people that have nothing to complain about. I wanted to know, what are you doing? What do you have in your life that makes a contribution in the world?
So there was not many people who had nothing to complain about.
Well, they did, but I didn't want to hear it. I wanted to hear what they can do to make it better.
Okay.
So I talked to everybody from comedians, moms and pops, and the guy on the street, and the police chief, to politicians, to doctors and lawyers, and everybody in between. I only wanted to know, what is your gift that makes a difference in the world? Okay. So that was a good format. But then later on, I changed my format, and it became like a stage. And I had a monologue, and I started to have a conversation with the audience. Okay. So I had a live audience show where people can have a conversation with Wolfgang. That was the title of my show, Conversations with Wolfgang. Okay. And the radio talk show was called the Relax and Focus Radio Show. Okay.
So none of that you're doing right now?
Yeah, unfortunately, the FCC has changed the rules, and so access television is no longer available. Okay. It costs a lot of money. So yeah. And if you don't have a product for sale, then it costs $1 million. All
right. So what lessons would you say you took from that experience of your life?
Well, I learned a lot from other people, that other people are out there who do the same thing. I learned that there's more people out there have really, really good intentions. I learned that there are so many individuals who try in their own way to make a difference in the world. And so I don't feel that I'm alone. So by connecting with all these people, you create an organization. You create a movement.
A powerful network.
Yes. Yeah. You create a consciousness, of collective consciousness, of where we can all have a common goal that brings peace and harmony and well-being to all people in the world, you know.
Okay. On a lighter note, do you have, what's your favorite music?
I love classical music.
That's my favorite.
I like opera.
And I love one of my favorite composers, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
Oh my God, they named him after me, by the way.
I know. So your name was familiar.
Yeah, thank you.
And Johannes Brahms.
Brahms, my favorite, yes.
I know.
Beethoven.
Oh, Beethoven too.
Yeah, he's my favorite.
And Bach?
Yeah, Bach, of course.
So me and you can hang out.
We should. We should.
All right. My guest today is a life coach and founder of Alternative Health Education, Mr. Wolfgang Christoph. So now that we can hang out together and listen to classical music, I'm sure of our conversation, there are people out there who have had the information and what you do and are really curious and might be interested in joining your next workshops that you have organized. You're here for how long now? How long will you be around in Kenya?
I will be here for 2 months.
For 2 months?
And then I go to Dubai, launch a book, have a couple of conferences over there, and Abu Dhabi, and then I'll be back on September 7, and I'll be here until the 14th. And I will do a motivational speaking tour and a book signing tour. So I will talk about the Berlin story in a complete.
So you have a book tour. Yeah. That means you're an author.
Yes.
What is your book about?
It's about my life story.
Okay.
An autobiography? Called Zoni. It's my story about growing up in Berlin and about the escape. Okay. And it's called Zoni, S-O-H-N-I. It's about the human will against the forces of destiny.
Wow. Yeah. What inspired the title?
Well, because there are so many forces outside of yourself, and you need to overcome. So I feel the human will is very, very important to overcome the forces of destiny. We are not destined for anything. We create our own destiny. You see, and so I found this very interesting subtitle. So do you have specific dates you could give maybe to the viewers on the workshops and the book signing? Yes, this weekend, Saturday, I have one workshop about how to make personal transformation in your personal life. It's this Saturday, and another forum, as a women's forum, is going to be on the 29th. And the location is being still formatted because we are not sure between one or the other. Okay. But we can contact my agent, and if you give them the number, that would be great. So do you have like a website or a Facebook or a social media platform that they can come there and access the information? I have a lot of information on my LinkedIn account, on my LinkedIn website. Here in Kenya, I just arrived, so I don't have big media, but Lucy And Amami, she is the agent, and she has all the contact information, and she can guide you to the proper, Facebook page or.
Okay, so you've mentioned something interesting. You'll have a women's workshop.
Yeah.
Why women? Why women?
Not only in Kenya, but women around the world are not exactly where they want to be, and they should be. I believe in equality. I believe that every person should be paid equally. There should be no discrimination because you're a man or a woman, or you're of different color. There should be no such thing. And so overcoming these obstacles is very important. And so I want to help those women to be empowered.
Okay. So, of course, you left Germany and you traveled around the world, and now you settled in California. Do you think if you had remained in Germany, your life would be what it is today?
No.
How so?
It would not be. Germany is a very, very industrialized country, and it's very prosperous and everything. But when I came to America 40 years ago, I felt liberated. Sometimes there are too many regulations, too many restrictions, it's too rigid for me. And so when I came to America, I had the freedom not only to be without a wall, there's no wall, endless beaches.
So when the national anthem, when they sing the land of the free, it's really the land of the free.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I felt completely liberated because psychologically when I left, the wall was still there. And so coming over here, it was such an incredible release. And I also found that I can do anything in America I want to. I had the freedom to be an entrepreneur and try anything I want, as long as I do it the proper way. Pay your taxes and so forth.
Okay. Mr. Wolfgang Christoph of Alternative Health Education at the Wellness Institute of Body and Mind. It was really wonderful to have you on the show today.
It was an honor to be here. Thank you so much. I appreciate you interviewing me today.
Danke.
Bitte schön.
That's the only that's the only German word I know.
Sana.
Okay. So all the best.
Thank you.
And good luck with your coming workshops.
Thank you.
And hopefully Kenyans, you can get the information on social media. It is on our screen right now. You can call Christoph's agent, and you can get in touch with her. She's called Lucy, right? Lucy. And then you can get more information and hopefully find time to attend some of these workshops. As human beings, we never stop learning. And if you stop learning, then there's a problem. There's always a chance to be a better person, and Wolfgang is here to help you in his many years of experience. He has the wealth of knowledge and wisdom that sometimes we need. This has been The Point. I am Miriam Ogutu, and until next time, thank you for watching.